According to a bombshell, albeit predictable, report from ABC News, Judge Aileen Cannon's name is listed on a proposed personnel roster circulating within Donald Trump's campaign and transition operation as a possible candidate for Attorney General if Trump wins the November election. Judge Cannon, of course, is the judge who baselessly dismissed Trump's classified documents and espionage case down in Florida.
Trump praised her as brilliant.
I think she's a brilliant woman. I think she handled a scam. It's a scam case. She's very smart and very strong and loves our country. Loves our country. We need judges that love our country, so they do the right thing.
According to ABC, Cannon's name appears on a document reviewed by ABC News titled Transition Planning, Legal Principles, which lists potential staffing for the White House counsel's office, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the U.S. Attorney's offices, as well as proposed candidates for the top legal positions within multiple government agencies should Trump be reelected. Other names include former SEC Chair Jay Clayton, former DOJ Office of Legal Counsel Assistant Attorney General Steve Engel, and former Bill Barr Chief of Staff Will Levi, Jeffrey Clark, who pleaded not guilty after being indicted in Georgia for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election, Mike Davis, who has posted several controversial statements on social media promoting Donald Trump's plans to target his political opponents, imprison members of the media in gulags, and put migrant children in cages. And Mark Paletta, a former White House lawyer and longtime friend of Supreme Court Justice, who else? Clarence Thomas, who also represented Thomas's wife Ginny during the House Select Committee's investigation into the January 6 assault on the U.S. Capitol. As a reminder, these are the people being considered for the role of the top law enforcement official in the United States of America. And keep in mind, right now, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals is deciding whether Judge Cannon's completely bogus dismissal of Donald Trump's case will stand. It almost certainly won't. And then they'll decide whether the case will go back to her or a different judge in the trial court track. Do you really think that Jack Smith won't bring up the fact that this woman is now on the shortlist to become Donald Trump's Attorney General when arguing for a different judge on this case? I get that Donald Trump's team is falling over itself to reward those who it feels are adequately loyal to the God King, but in this instance, they seem to have forgotten that this case is still ongoing and that Cannon's dismissal is almost certain to be overturned, meaning in their effort to reward her, they might have just shot themselves in the foot. But Cannon's name being listed as a possible Attorney General isn't the only bit of news involving the Florida judge lately. She was also selected as the judge who will preside over the criminal case of Ryan Ruth, the would-be assassin of Donald Trump, and interestingly, despite the case landing on her docket only 3 weeks ago, she set a trial date for November 18th, just a few weeks from now. In other words, the judge who allowed Donald Trump to delay his case over and over and over quickly set a trial date when the case involves someone who is hostile to Trump. Who could have possibly guessed?
Ryan Routh has been charged with the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. Judge Aileen Cannon was randomly assigned to Routh's case. Cannon oversaw and then threw out the federal classified documents case against the former president.
I mean, honestly, the difference here is pretty egregious. Judge Cannon was assigned to Donald Trump's case on June 10th, 2023. Over the next 13 months, she would go on to scold the DOJ, grant Trump's team's absurd motions, ignore the trial date requested, even by Trump's team, strike elements of the indictment against Trump, and then ultimately just dismiss the case altogether. This is 13 months of purposeful delay and bad faith maneuvering as she handed his team every single victory they sought, including some victories they didn't even seek, before ultimately doing what we knew she would do all along by dismissing the case under this bogus pretense that suddenly special counsels are unconstitutional, even though they have been used in this country since the 1800s and their legality has been upheld numerous times, including at the Supreme Court. But none of that mattered because the name of the game here was helping Donald Trump no matter the optics and no matter the law. And yet here, she managed to get assigned to a case on September 24th and within 1 week assigned a trial date for the following month. It really is remarkable what a judge can be capable of when she exists to serve at the altar of the man responsible for giving her her job. And to the same point that I made before, now that Cannon's name is being reported as a possible Attorney General choice for Trump if he were to win this election, think about the implications for that Ryan Ruth case. The first thing that Ruth's attorney is going to do is file a motion to recuse. After all, how could the judge, who may very well be Donald Trump's own Attorney General, fairly preside over a case against the guy who's accused in an assassination attempt against him? Again, in their desperation to reward Judge Cannon, they forget that she is right now trying to preside over cases where Trump himself is directly involved, and where, even though she will always rule on Trump's behalf, she could at least benefit from not losing every last ounce of plausible deniability. All of which underscores, by the way, what is, in my opinion, the ridiculousness of Jack Smith not seeking to remove Judge Cannon immediately upon it becoming clear that she was in the tank for Donald Trump. Here's Glenn Kirshner discussing that issue in a recent episode of The Legal Breakdown.
Do you think right now that Jack Smith has egg on his face by virtue of not seeking to remove Judge Cannon earlier, given that now we're in a situation where she dismissed the case altogether and may very well get validated at the U.S. Supreme Court, meaning that there is no recourse for Jack Smith?
I won't call it egg on Jack Smith's face. I will say I would have struck a different balance as a former career prosecutor. I long ago would have filed a motion to have her removed, to recuse, because the federal standard supports a motion to recuse Judge Aileen Cannon. Jack Smith decided not to for whatever reason. I do wish that issue had been litigated in the full light of day so we could have seen the briefs and the arguments and the law on both sides of that and get the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals to weigh in. But now, in hindsight, now that she has made this largely unsupportable ruling, I think it does give Jack Smith additional fodder. So when he appeals this, that's when, for the first time, you may see him throw in a motion to remove her from the case.
Okay, real quick question on that. Is that something that would be able to be appealed up to the Supreme Court?
I believe that would go first to the trial court judge, because the judge actually gets to act on the motion to remove themselves. Assuming Judge Cannon denied it, it would go up to the 11th Circuit. Assuming the 11th Circuit granted it and kicked her off, I am positive Donald Trump's lawyers would appeal it to the Supreme Court, and I have a feeling the Supreme Court would be keenly interested in taking that issue up, given the recent absolute immunity issue. They seem to want to grab onto any case, any issue that might work to Donald Trump's advantage.
And to that point, my next Legal Breakdown episode will cover this exact issue, diving deeper into the implications of this reporting and how it'll impact ongoing litigation that Judge Cannon is directly involved in. So if you want to see that coverage, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. In the meantime, it should be abundantly clear that there are no clean people within Donald Trump's orbit. They are all corrupt. They are all compromised. They are all acting in service of a wannabe autocrat. Judge Cannon shouldn't be on the federal bench, much less serve as the top law enforcement official in the United States of America. The only solution, then, is to ensure that Donald Trump and those around him never get near to the levers of power again. And we have the opportunity to ensure as much right now. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on this screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on this screen. Thanks so much for watching.